All right, everybody.
Nobody, right?
Nobody on Zoom, yeah, so that's all right. Thanks, Walter. So we're gonna have a sermon discussion, which basically means taking a deeper look at the lessons and seeing what it is that you see and what you thought of the sermon today and so on. So I thought we could maybe start. They're long lessons. So do we want to read Isaiah, or do we want to just read the gospel and then go back if we have time, or what's your thought?
I think that one.
Yeah, gospel and then go back.
Okay, read. So who would be willing to read the gospel?
I would.
Thank you.
This is from Matthew. Jesus said, "You are the salt of the earth. But if salt has lost its taste, how can its saltiness be restored? It is no longer good for anything, but is thrown out and trampled underfoot. You are the light of the world. A city built on a hill cannot be hid. No one, after lighting a lamp, puts it under a bushel basket, but on the lampstand, and it gives light to all in the house. In the same way, let your light shine before others, so that they may see your good works and give glory to your Father in heaven. Do not think that I have come to abolish the law or the prophets. I have not come to abolish, but to fulfill. For truly I tell you, until heaven and earth pass away, not one letter, not one stroke of a letter will pass from the law until all is accomplished. Therefore, whoever breaks one of the least of these commandments and teaches others to do the same will be called least in the kingdom of heaven. But whoever does them and teaches them will be called great in the kingdom of heaven. For I tell you, unless your righteousness exceeds that of the scribes and the Pharisees, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven."
So what stands out to you as you hear this gospel reading again?
I feel like this is one of those that's been so spiritualized and sweetened that until she tells us how critical salt is and how important it is. You know, I think I always need context. I need to know that salt meant people had food to eat or didn't. And it's critical to our life. It's just nothing to us. So I'm grateful for those kinds of help in context.
I cannot think this could be more plain than to stand and deliver. Act upon and live what you say you believe. If you say you believe it, live it and act upon it. If just saying, "Our Father who art in heaven," is meaningless unless we believe it and we live it.
Yeah, good point.
Right. So I was thinking the same thing. It's a call to courage.
Yeah.
You have been given gifts. You have not been given gifts lightly, or to hoard them for yourself, or to not use them, which is a scary sort of message to receive.
Especially right now, I think. Yeah. Yeah.
I always look at patterns in my reading, my devotions and reading, and one of them this last week has been about blessings. And I was thinking multiple things about the sermon. One is, first of all, I didn't know celery came from the root of salt, so I thought all that was very interesting. But after her, you know, as her sermon moved along and she got towards the end, that's the part that I think was the biggest challenge, is to not, the salt does no good in the container unopened in the pantry. And to tie that in, to be a blessing, you've got to take that salt out and do something with it. And I think I'd be the first one to say, I don't always do that way. So,
Or even know how sometimes. Or how it is that, I mean, for me, I think I oftentimes don't know what is me and what is what I think I'm supposed to do, you know? And so, and when I do what I'm supposed to do, it never works out very well. Even if I think it's the right thing, you know, and the blessed thing and all that. So finding that core in me of what is the salt and in me is, I think, for me, not the most important, but sort of the first step. As a for instance, I'll share this with you, we were talking about safe lots, and so we went around last week to all our neighbors, I thought, and visited all the houses, and we got some that we didn't, a lot of people didn't come to the door, but the folks who did were really positive, and oh, I think it's a wonderful thing you're doing, and so on, so we were all encouraged. So then yesterday we had an open house here, and then we got a whole bunch of different neighbors who were very, you know, they were like, no, we do not want this. And there were like 3 different real misperceptions that kind of was fueling this, but they were very angry and very intent on, you know, we don't want you to do this. And whenever I would say, well, what would it be like if we tried it this other way? They would say, no, you're not hearing us. We don't want these people in our neighborhood at all. So these people, that was the first kind of blanket, because, you know, they were saying all homeless people are out of control, drug users, rapists, and so on. And it turns out that the preschool next door has had issues with people who are camping behind the preschool. And they have had their furniture stolen, and they had one incident where a woman ran naked, and it was at night, so none of the kids were there, but ran naked and through the backyard, and another instance where somebody defecated on their lawn, you know, and so, and then the neighbors across the street have found needles a couple of times, and David Cloyd found one over in that little brick enclosure where the furnaces are and stuff. So they built it up into this thing, and there it was, you know. And we don't want to talk about this. We just want to tell you we don't want this. Period. So, and I think both Roseanne and I did a pretty good job of making what little connection there was to make. And afterwards, I thought, you know, Lori, that's where your talent is, or that's where your salt is. And it's not in doing the big things, but it's in those little inroads that I can sometimes make with people. And then thinking about, okay, well, how do we move this along, you know, because I don't want it to stop here. So I was thinking things like, well, what would it be like to help them out with some of the issues that they're having with unsavory neighbors, you know, with the folks who are coming over and causing damage and distress. And if there was some way of doing that and involving the city in that, then that might be a real step towards a different kind of cohesiveness with our neighbors. So, anyway, so, you know, for me, thinking about what's my talent in that and what's not is that was interesting. Because, I spent a lot of years in the family violence movement too, and talking to the community, educating people and so on about domestic violence, and so, and a lot of times I just forget that I have those past skills, but, yeah.
Well, I'm fascinated because that's one of the skills that I see that salt in you so readily.
Yeah?
Yeah. I mean, I've seen it here where people, you're so good at listening to people who have really different experiences. And that just makes me think that sometimes our salt might be so normal to us
Yeah.
that it might be others who really reflect it back to us.
That's a good point, yeah.
I just read, looked at the headlines of the paper when I got up, and the only thing I look at the paper for is to do the jumble puzzle, but I look at the headlines and I read the thing about the Budget Host Hotel on the north side of town. They're gonna demolish it. And the urban, whatever association, urban development or whatever it is, bought it a couple of years ago for $2.1 million. And they're gonna destroy it because it's a nuisance property. And they throw around that word nuisance a lot, like the Mennonite church became a nuisance property. And so this place has got, it's got some just standard breakdown, I forget what it was, but it's also got some meth contamination as well, this Budget Host. So they've decided that they're just going to destroy it, they're going to tear it down. And so this is a hard place to push that sort of agenda, and I think the prosperity that's spoken about in one of the readings, I think that is a more around, it's not about money and property and prosperity of feeling and assistance and when Janie and I went on the road in 2008, I basically just quit my job. I retired early, but my job was downsizing anyways, and I learned about war tax resistance, and I found out if we live underneath the taxable income, we don't have to pay for war. And even though part of my salary comes from the Air Force retirement, so it's kind of fun that way. But so in doing that, we moved in eventually. We moved into a motorhome, sold our house, moved into a motorhome, and got to go travel and spend weeks at a time with my dad in New York State before he passed away. And we got to meet some of the greatest activists in the world, and meet a guy in Bryan, Texas that just started a potluck, a family potluck he called it, so he could get around the health department guidelines. And they just, every Sunday, they had a potluck, and they fed hundreds of people that were just other people on the street, whatever. He got along fine, and so we would go, every place we'd go to a new place, we'd find out who's feeding hungry people, who's housing people in the parking lot, and we would offer to help out where we can, and we would wind up getting some meals as well, and so we didn't have to have as big of a budget for meals. So, and we go play music for people that are feeding other people, at the Foco Cafe. We play music once a week and get a meal there. So it's, it's really a blessing, and it's tough because at Foco Cafe 2 weeks ago, I was there playing, and this guy came up and was real friendly, and afterwards, and I got my food, and we got into this conversation. Janie was still in Hawaii, so it was just me playing that day. We got into this long conversation, and I didn't hear everything because of my hearing losses, but I got the gist of what he was talking about, and then it felt like a real good conversation, give and take, and then this other guy came in and started talking with him in this different sort of language, and I realized right away that I thought I was talking to somebody who was sober, and he was on something, and they were talking about their next opportunity to go get meth.
Oh,
And so, you know, it's out there, and people are doing it, and people who do that will be attracted to the parking lot. So, but we can't, you know, we can't not. If Jesus was doing what Jesus did then, in this day, he'd have some followers that were trying to use that time to do something with drugs or whatever, you know. So, but that's for us to negotiate now, I think.
yeah, I think so.
It's not gonna stop me from sprinkling my salt over, you know, being the salt. It's not gonna stop me from that. I love the subtlety and the impact of the sermon today.
I did
So,
too, yeah.
Yeah. it's-
Those different
I loved-
images for salt, that was so good, yeah.
Yeah, I loved how it was so subtle. It wasn't, you know, get out there and stand in the street on No King's Day, or, you know, it wasn't that, but it hinted, it leaned into that. So I loved that a lot.
Lori, I feel like you're like pinches of salt. It doesn't have to be huge. And yeah, I was thinking about what you said. Sometimes it's just part of us and we don't realize it. And I wish I had a newer example, but I was traveling with a really close friend, and we were staying with my cousins, and he was talking about he'd gone through a really tough time, and there had been a suicide. He wrote about it, and they had gone to the funeral, and he's talking about tears and all those emotions, and I just said, you know, sometimes stuff comes to you. Thank the Spirit. I just said, you know, God corrects tears in the bottom. And Jesus weeps. And my friend, I didn't think anything of it. I gave him, you know, I went on my phone and gave him the reference, but my friend later said, I really love how you ministered to your cousins. And I go, what? I mean, okay. And I wish I had more recent examples, because that was all the way back in October.
I thought you were gonna say it was years ago. October seems pretty recent, actually, yeah. Thanks for sharing that. Yeah, as I think moments like that are really, like you say, Spirit blessed. Yeah.
I just have to make it funny. I mean, a woman running naked, we used to do that in college.
That's what I
Yeah, exactly.
Rich
Well, I said
women
it was
running
so
naked.
irreverent, but, and I didn't say it to her, but it was like, that is called streaking. But, yeah, I mean, it's a preschool, you know, so she's got,
No,
yeah.
And then I think I know how those children happened.
Yeah. There is that, yeah. But no, I think it's so easy to get divided, and, I don't want that to happen, but.
The city of
finding
Loveland is
creative
really going
ways
through it.
to not
The
do
city
that.
of Loveland had a property all set that they could have converted to a big shelter. But the people rose up and said, no, we don't want those people here in Loveland. So now there's nowhere.
Some of the people rose up.
What?
Not
Some of the
everybody.
people.
Yes, you're here in Loveland, yeah.
But it puts more pressure on Fort Collins too. It's a short walk up the street.
Well, and there are 2 Safe Lot programs in Loveland that have been going for over a year, and they're doing fine, so.
Oh,
That's what I found. It's in towns where there is a dominant kind of thought, there's always these other underground kind of things happening. And that's where SALT can help, I think. Or
Say
be that.
more, yeah.
I haven't given it a lot of thought, but you saying what you're supposed to be and what's supposed to do, I think that's where I get out of myself. I get out of my, and I might even do the same thing. Do you know, I might even take the same action, but if I take it from a place of being connected to God and to my truth and my salt, it's different than if I do it from a place of I'm supposed to, or self-righteousness, or any of those things. Yeah. I don't have an example right now, I'll try to think of one, but I know it in me. Do you know, it feels different. I don't know if this will make sense to anybody, but if you've ever been in a yoga class, or I'm guessing probably all kinds of sports, and someone comes and adjusts your posture, have you ever had that? Or probably chiropractor, whatever, physical therapist, and suddenly you're like, oh my gosh, this feels exactly right. That's how it feels to me when I'm connected to God. To
I had a
myself.
ballet teacher that did that, who would correct my posture, usually with a slap on my bottom and shoving it under. And he'd tell me, Margaret, you're going somewhere. Take your luggage with you.
So I think that's an issue too, because I've been in a number of yoga, Pilates classes where the instructor will come by and offer a modification, a correction, or whatever. And depending on how it's offered is how my body responds. Because there's a gentleness, there's a sort of like seeking permission. And the best instructors I know basically are like, I am prone to coming around and doing these corrections, and tell me if you're not comfortable with that. So there's a gift in how you offer that subtle change, that whatever, whether it's actually physical or whether it's oh, that's interesting, the way I see it is,
Exactly.
you know,
Exactly.
rather than you're wrong.
You're wrong.
You know, so I think that, I don't know what I'm saying, I'll be quiet now.
No, that makes a lot of sense, and it goes back to what I heard you say, Martin, about the sermon today, right? That it wasn't, we never have that here, but I think we've all heard those kind of, you must do this, everyone must do this, this is what we all believe, which isn't the Episcopal Church. But just, hey, here's an invitation, like a reminder, an invitation that's a reminder of who you are.
Yeah.
Yeah, a reminder of who you are, that's a really good way to put it.
I think that sermon, the word you used, Martin, was subtle, but the way she delivered it kind of opened it up creatively. And just, and you can pick and choose that. And I was telling Amy about a book I'm reading right now. See if I can remember this, because it goes back to the story about people being angry, and it talks about collective greed in this country, and how a lot of times, even in the Christian religion, we think otherwise, but we are after profit, you know, the bottom line, all that. And he talks about the rage, because it's connecting everything to prophecy, which, about the rage and the anger and all that can go into that. And if it's righteous and just, that's okay for a little while, but what is it? Do not let the sun go down on your anger. So it's okay for a little while to be angry. I love the way you addressed it, but then you got to get rid of it.
Yeah.
I think that's really true, because I think it, you know, that, like it infects the conversation, right? Like when you get too much, you know, it's, I'm always struggling with this myself. You know, it's like, because the anger is, you know, as an energy is good, because it brings focus to something, it brings the energy up around something, it, you know, is challenging us to do something. And that internally that can be really good, externally that can be really good. But then it also like pulls in all the other places of like disconnect, and all of the places of feeling, you know, victimized or by the system or all these things. And so like it tends, I just think it clouds the conversation so much, you know. I watch Trump does this all the time. Like he sparks up the anger, gets, you know, this boost, and then says something completely absurd into that space that now has all of this energy, right? And it's like, and that's the kind of way I think it can get kind of pollute the conversation.
I definitely agree with that. I know when like people get angry, you kind of only just see the points of their side, and it just becomes very polarized. But when you're able to kind of have a conversation, I don't think you need to agree, but I think when you understand that person's coming from a place that may be not the same as yours, but they're not doing this out of like, I don't know, it's very easy to just think of the other side and other people, but if you just kind of see them as actual human beings, you get somewhere. You probably get further than if you were to just have that anger, which really doesn't get you anywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think of Martin's conversation, the anger is a form of intoxication. You reach the point now where now you have to sober up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got kind of hung up a few weeks ago or whenever it was that we had that talk about Jesus in the temple, you know. And I got really, because I talked to my brother-in-law, who's a priest, a retired priest, and he gave a reason for what that really meant, what the message was from that. And I got really hung up on that braiding. I heard it really clearly for the first time, that took 3 chords and braided a whip. And I'm thinking that it takes quite a while to braid a whip, you know. And then we were at some of these nonviolence trainings over here with Isaac last week, and it dawned on me that, well, you know, when you go into a nonviolent direct action, protest or that sort of thing, you have an affinity group before you ever go up. And anytime Janie and I have ever stood up and got arrested for whatever, you know, went to jail for justice, we had an affinity group. We knew who was going to take care of our things, get our car home, pick us up from the jail and all that stuff. So I'm thinking about Jesus braiding that thing, and that's a perfect time for him to just run through the checklist with his affinity group, you know, the Holy Spirit, and, you know, in this situation, you know, thinking about each of the apostles and what they're going to be doing, and so, you know, I think that was a pretty good nonviolent direct action, you know, and the anger looked like anger, but that's what he was presenting that was the action that went into place, you know. So I've started doing that. When we stand on the corner now, I had a guy come by and holler something directly at me, and with my, you know, so I think of myself as, you know, braiding the whip and thinking about what I'm going to say, not just reacting with direct anger, you know. And so, of course, you have to yell a little bit when you're in a car, but he was stopped right across from me at the light, you know, waiting to cross college. And so first thing I said was, what happened to thank you? I had my Vets for Peace flag, you know. What happened to thank you for your service? You know? And so I just went light with it, you know. And then I said something that was clarifying whatever he had asked me, you know. But you know, I think that's a fun tool to have. Is just think of it that way, I guess.
That's neat, yeah.
Yeah.
Really cool.
And a thing I liked about in the reading too was that I just went over it again to see But, was that, when the reading says, do these things, be with the homeless, be with the, you know, all that stuff. And then, here's what you're gonna get, you know, that's what the part I liked in there too. It wasn't just, the prophet bossing people on what you have to do. It was, if you do these things, then you'll get this. And that's usually how it works out for me. If I do something to help, or whatever, then, you know, I feel like, then you'll get your posture corrected and you'll be in the right spot if you do those things.
But it does require looking at how you define your prosperity. If your prosperity is in those relationships and your commitment to the community, that's your prosperity. And that isn't the prosperity of the culture.
Right.
Right.
We're so defensive, and
Right.
so consumed by the end consumers, and so identified with the bottom line and that kind of thing. But I think this really calls us into that kind of introspection. You know, what is your prosperity? If I help these people, I might have less in my pocket, but, you know, my relationship with God is different. Is that worth it to me? You know, is that my prosperity? I really liked that piece, looking at, I think we're called to do that all the time, and I think it's hard.
Is that in Isaiah? Is that where you're getting at?
Yeah, when they say, you know, if you offer food to the hungry and satisfy the needs, then your light will shine in the darkness, and your gloom will be like, that has to be worth it. That has to be worth it to me.
Yeah.
See, I have to say, yep, that's what I want. I want to rise in the darkness. I want the gloom to be like noonday. I want to be bone strong. So it's that constant looking at where is our definition. Yeah.
There was a sister that Jamie and I are associates of the Sisters of St. Joseph down in Kansas, and well, there's seven locations, and but with the Wichita Sisters is where we began that path. And sister in Concordia, Kansas, I think, told me one time that I was talking something, but I used to joke around about that Janie's and my retirement plan is a vow of poverty. That's what I used to say, because I didn't know how things were going to turn out, because we just basically quit our work. I would sometimes give a few bucks playing music, you know, and Janie would work these jobs as a physical therapist assistant traveling. We worked for 13 weeks or 26 weeks, or somewhere between 13 and 26 weeks. She would work. I would volunteer or take some small handyman job or something, and then we would travel. The rest of the summer we would travel and go to be activists, you know, and go visit family and whatnot. And so I didn't know. We didn't really have a retirement plan. I knew I had an Air Force retirement, but my ex-wife gets half of that, and I didn't know what I would have for Social Security and what Janie would have. But she called it the gospel economy. That's what she said. She said, you're living the gospel economy. You give, and what you need you'll get. You get, and you share some of that with somebody else. That's just the way it is. And I cannot tell you, Janie and I both now are fully retired. We have a nice car. We have a pickup truck and a camper. We don't owe a penny on any of that stuff. We charge things through the month, our bills, we pay our bills with our credit card like many people do, pay it off at the end of the month, and we always seem to be going up a little bit more. And I mean, we don't come looking for a fancy house when you come to our place, you know, because it's a little double-wide mobile home, but it's comfortable and it's ours, and it's something we can leave. And our electric bill is $11, $12 a month because we have solar and a heat pump. And so it really happened. You know, it really, so far it's happened, and so I think really that has really been played out in our lives and in the lives of many people that we know, that we our activists with. We don't, we don't go out to eat a lot, we're cautious about how we spend, but we have what we need, so. I think that's absolutely true. And if our economy would build itself around that more, then instead of saying that building is a nuisance, 10 years ago, they would have said, let's clean up, let's get some treatment for these meth people.
That's right.
Meth is a problem, let's get some treatment for people. Make something that would work, instead of calling it a nuisance.
Nuisance property, I just have to share this. Retired architect, did schools, and we had this term, an attractive nuisance for students, and they built a brand new elementary school, and our oldest biological grandson is autistic and epileptic. And when I walked in, I looked at the plans. My daughter-in-law asked me to, and I said, that's terrible in a lot of ways, especially the special ed's area. But what was really terrible was, those cafeterias they do, and there's kind of amphitheater seating, and I said, that's dangerous. He is going to get up there, ride the attractive nuisance.
Yeah.
And sure enough, they lost track of him 2 or 3 times. I mean, the staff, and he was one-on-one with a parent. Just when you said nuisance, I'm just like, it brought me back to that vision of him getting away from them. They pulled him out of that school pretty quick.
Yeah.
I was thinking about some of these, the terms that go by, even just talking about people, and I was thinking about the way we create bias through associations between different things, because it's not the homeless people who are the drug users who are leaving needles on the street.
Yeah.
It's an irresponsible drug user who left a needle here,
Yeah.
right? It's not homeless people that did that.
Yeah.
It's a irresponsible drug user that did that.
Or a
right?
drug user. And they're addicted, they can't,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
Drug
it's an
users
addiction.
do that. And then, but the association
Pulling
becomes,
those apart, those
you know,
terms.
Yeah,
we make this association because that person is also experiencing homelessness. Therefore, it's an issue about homelessness. The issue's about drug use. It's not about homelessness. And I was just thinking about that because, like the safe lots, right? I mean, these are families living in cars. It's not, to globalize it to other things is inaccurate. It's just like, but we do that, and then we make then there's these like global statements about this is the way, this group is, and I just see it like, look at how we do that with immigrants,
Yes, yes,
it's like,
yeah.
an immigrant creates it, somebody who's immigrated here illegally creates takes an illegal action, and now immigrants are, the problem, right? It's like, those types of associations are really, it's just in my mind, because it was in my mind even about like Loveland and like the majority piece, right? And the U.S. and the majority, what was the majority, in a lot of these votes that we're talking about is 51%? Okay, so 49% of, so 1 out of every 2 people we meet doesn't agree with it. It's just like, I just think we globalize things so much, it's like, where do you put your salt into that conversation, because it's not.
And that was the thing I found for myself when I realized exactly what you're saying, you know, that the population that I'm talking about of people who are living in their cars, who are newly homeless most of the time, who very likely are women over 60, you know, either with pets or by themselves, and how different that is from the folks who are camping in back of the preschool. But what got stirred up in me, it was really scary for me. And it got scary because the energy that I was feeling felt like it could so easily turn to those lesbians, you know, and those people who are poor. And it was I had a hard time the rest of the night. I had to kind of talk to myself and walk around and talk to Roseanne and cry and stuff. Because it gets scary fast when we do that, you know, when we create those kinds of generalized statements, really.
And it goes to, those retarded kids,
Yes, that's a good example, yeah.
because, my son and daughter-in-law, we had this, we came up with this quote that was, let's just say you're in a grocery store, you know, and this really happened, a toddler is just having a tantrum. And most people were just like, would think, can't you just control your child? And what Mike and Denise and I would think is, you have no idea what this person has been through today.
Yeah.
So give a little bit of grace. And I think it goes with just all the different peoples
Yeah.
and we see, so.
Yeah, and with that one, I mean, it's then also easy to turn around and say, well, you know, what can I offer that 2-year-old? You know, just a little bit different energy.
Or the parent.
Roll an apple towards them and see what happens, or, you know, or the parent, yeah.
I wanted to pick up on your experience yesterday. My best friend lives in Minneapolis, like in the thick of it.
Yeah.
And she, every day, she spends at least an hour trailing ICE vehicles around her neighborhood. And they've got, you know, coordinated, you know, like the whole neighborhood is coordinated. And so it's like, I forget what you called it, but it's like if something happens to somebody in the neighborhood, they know, okay, there are so many other people in that house, or they have pets, or they're gonna need groceries or whatever, so they are mobilized.
Oh, affinity group.
Affinity
Group, thank you.
I like that.
And this is all just sprung out of Minnesotans taking care of their neighbors. So she was out for coffee yesterday, which was really good for her, and then she went to a place where they were having a food drive for people who don't feel safe going to grocery stores. So she was helping pack cars with groceries. While she's there, something comes around on the neighborhood chain of a car was seen driving through their neighborhood, taking a picture of every house that had a protest sign in the yard. So like you, she's like, so I came home and I had a little cry. Because sometimes it's not easy at all. And I think that's what you were saying. It's like, a lot of people like to do the prosperity gospel. Yeah, and I don't think that's what this is really talking about. Sometimes it's not going to be easy, and it's not going to be pleasant. And yet, you know, I'm stuck because I'm so afraid for and proud of my friend. And now I sit here and I think, what can I do? And it just seems so paltry.
That's me too, yeah, it's like, what am I doing? Not much.
It's gonna come, it's gonna come,
You-
and we're gonna have ways to do it.
Yeah,
There's organizing going on right now as we speak.
Yeah.
We have to be ready, because it's
Mhm.
not if, it's coming.
Yeah.
And we'll all have something to do. We'll all be on the streets, but we'll all have something.
Mm-hmm.
So
Do you know
start
what?
praying about it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
yeah. Do you know what really has been striking me in the last couple of days is the power of that resistance music that's coming out of Minneapolis. And your anthem today, which I cried entirely through it, you know, but it's like,
It's just like,
Yeah.
it's
it
like,
was love.
there's something about that that allows the feelings and at the same time creates community, you know, and the fact that a lot of the Minnesotans are standing outside of the hotels where ICE is staying and they're saying, give it up, come be with us, or they're singing that, you know, come back to your humanity, come back to us.
Mm-hmm.
You can, it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just that is, I don't know, it feels really powerful.
I think I've probably said it in here because it's the one thing I feel super strongly about and that Jesus said. I mean, I feel strongly about a lot of things, but I usually am not very didactic at all, or dogmatic. But when Jesus said, wherever two or more are gathered in my name, I don't believe he was just talking about himself. I believe as often he was speaking a metaphysical truth. So when two or more are gathered in the name of anger, that anger is bigger than those two people, right? And so when two or more are gathered in the name of justice, that's bigger than the two of them. And it is this kind of internal, it starts with that, right? It starts with these truths. There's a true, and we all have such a hard time with language like this. I think Cynthia Bourgeois does it really well. I cannot live up to her, but she talks about these metaphysical truths of like hope. Hope is not just this thought, it's actually a real thing that we feel, right? And that we build. These are things to cultivate. And that's what I think a big part of this salt is, that who we hang around with, who we talk to, how we do that matters, because it's not just the words and it's the actions. Those are super important, but that truth behind each of those experiences is vital. So I know right now it feels like you're doing your beautiful knitting and you're giving money and I'm giving money and wearing that. But I think the time is coming, and in the meantime, if we keep building that within us, whatever that is, our truth is of love or justice or peace, whatever, we will serve well.
I think Lori really hit on something. Give the welcome to the ice agents, welcome them back. Welcome back to your come back to your real tribe. Never mind that place of anger and isolating groups, but come back to us.
Part of the salt that I see in this place, this church, and everybody in here, is that steadfastness. You're coming back, you're here, you're praying, I love what Bad Bunny said at the Grammys. I don't watch the Grammys, but I happened to catch that. And I wrote a song a while back called Don't Forget About Love, and it was just about that, about there's so much hate showing up that we who have the strength and power to remember love need to remember it. And when the thing I followed up after I wrote about Bad Bunny, about that, the hate and anger out there, is I said that I know that there's most of the time anger is not, from the training that I got, is not an original feeling. It comes from pain, fear, shame, guilt, something else. And so love can heal all of those things, even physical pain. we can talk about. We have a conversation about that, we'll tell about somebody we know who lessened their pain because somebody came in and showed them love.
Oh, yeah.
So I think that's one thing we can do, and I'm thinking about for our corner out there, I wanna try to, I gotta talk to Janie, she's the sign maker, but, I want something that says, what can you do for the people driving by, because we're getting honks like crazy. We're getting a few people who stick a finger up at us, but mostly we get honks, and if I get a chance, when somebody sticks a finger up, I'll say, did you just really flip off those old ladies? I'll pull the grandpa card on.
Right.
Is that what you did? Did you flip?
Did
know?
you flip them?
What if that's your grandpa?
Yeah.
That's what I want.
But, I wanna get something that says, well, when you go by, honk, give us a honk, cause we need the encouragement, we need to know that we're here standing for you when we're out there, And so come by and make a point, when we're gonna be here, make a point of driving by and giving us a honk, and some people do. But I wanna say other things, like, what else can you do? Say a prayer. Every time you feel anger, find your love, find your love.
Yeah, the peace monks are really, really good sharers of that. I mean, they're incredible, and it's like, be in the moment. Here we are, walking 2,300 miles. Come join us, be in the moment.
Yeah, he says, don't come and watch us, do what we do, practice, which is just being mindful.
Yep.
He also reminds us to put our lovers away. That's your cell phone. He's very direct. I watched one this morning. He's very direct. There must have been someone in the audience, and he said, "See, she's speaking with her lover. She's here with me." Yeah, but it's it's so simple that we'll do it.
So I know Judy and you are both going to the Isaac offerings, and I hope that we can find a way to.
Yeah, as soon as there's more information, they're organizing and branching out into the community and finding the Martins and those people who already have training to help the rest of us.
Okay.
And there'll be different kinds of things. And the thing is that there's something for all of us to do. That's what we have to remember. When you hear about it, it's not, we need to be the affinity group for Martin and for frontline people. And that's an important salt. So that's the effort that's being made right now. So yeah,
That's what I mean by that steadfastness.
That's right.
We come in here and we know who's gonna be here, and that you're gonna be here. And so it feels like, even though we haven't spoken about it specifically, it feels like we got our back, and things like that. And we're not gonna do arrestable stuff probably anymore. We're sort of the grandparents of the movement now. But we sure are trying to guide the movement in a good way.
right.
Like I want to focus on love a lot, because the harsh signs, the four-letter word that starts with F is not a prayer. And so when they say this to ICE and this to Trump and all that stuff, we can do that better. But I don't fault them. They're at their place,
Right.
and they're making their voice. I don't fault them for that. But I just don't. I generally don't stand by that kind of a sign, because I don't want to be associated with that. So.
We have to show that we have something better to offer. It's easy to be against.
Right.
It's really easy. But we have to show that we have something to offer, and that's why we have to work together. It didn't happen overnight in Minnesota.
No.
Those connections have been developing for a long time. They knew it was coming, so we have to do the same thing.
Although I think like a lot of the neighborhood involvement organization, a lot of that did spring up seemingly overnight.
But there's got to be a precedent there that they knew what to do. Somebody had to say,
Right.
oh, they do it.
They probably, like in each sort of area, they probably had a Martin or somebody who knew Martin or something like that, and then it was like, okay, you all want to come over for coffee? Okay, this is what Martin told me, blah, 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 blah. And then
That's exactly
it's
right.
like, it's like the seeding
That's right.
and a little bit of salt.
I
But
read on someone's blog this week, when did you last talk to your neighbor? Today, yesterday, last week, last month, last year? When did you last talk to your neighbor? Do you know your neighbor? Do you know their name? Build it from there.
We have a bunch of Veterans for Peace. I'm a member of Veterans for Peace, and a whole bunch of them went to Minneapolis, and they've been in this since Vietnam. You know, they've been working for peace and longer. I mean, they were veterans from the Korean War
Right.
that marched from Selma to Montgomery with those folks that guarded the camps at night when they slept in the field. So there's, there's a lot of people that have been doing things for a long time that they show up when something's going on like that. They show up there.
Well, we should probably call that a wrap, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you,
Thanks, everybody.
everybody.
yes, thank you.
Really appreciate it.
You gonna pray us out of here?
Yes, let's have a prayer. Beloved, thank you for gathering us in this affinity group and for teaching us about salt and light and all the different kinds of salt that we can be. Help us to go forward together and individually to do the sorts of things that bring us a true and lasting peace and wholeness in the world, as Isaiah suggests. In Christ's name, amen.
Amen.
Amen.